Fact number 4. The toy was only 16 years old. She was a developing teenager, but the studio executives at MGM, specifically Louis B. Mayer, didn't see a child. They saw a product. They were obsessed with her appearance. Even though she was a healthy weight, the studio referred to her as a little fat pig. To force her to look like a prepubescent girl, they bound her chest in painful corsets and put her on a starvation diet. For months, this growing teenager was allowed to consume almost nothing but chicken soup, black coffee, and up to 80 cigarettes a day to suppress her appetite. But the abuse didn't stop at food. The shooting schedule was brutal, sometimes lasting 72 hours at a stretch. To keep a 16-year-old awake and energetic for that long, the studio didn't use encouragement, they used chemistry. Handlers were assigned to force-feed Judy amphetamines, what they called pep pills, to keep her manic and wide awake in front of the camera. Then, when she was shaking and unable to sleep after an 18-hour shift, they would feed her barbiturates, or sleeping pills, to knock her unconscious. 4 hours later, they would wake her up and start the cycle all over. This chemical regime rewired her brain and hooked her on uppers and downers before she was even an adult. The addiction that started on the set of The Wizard of Oz plagued her for decades, killing her. Fact number 5. The Cowardly Lion's smelly suit. We all love the Cowardly Lion. He is cuddly, funny, and soft. But if you were on the set in 1938, you wouldn't want to hug him. In fact, you wouldn't even want to stand downwind of him. Today, a costume like this would be made of lightweight synthetic faux fur. But in the 1930s, the studio demanded authenticity. So the costume worn by actor Burt Lahr was fashioned out of real lion pelts. That's right, actual skin and fur harvested from lions. This choice created a logistical nightmare. The suit was incredibly dense and weighed nearly 90 pounds. Imagine dragging around the weight of a teenage child on your shoulders for 12 hours a day while trying to dance, sing, and act. To make matters worse, the Technicolor lights required to film the movie turned the soundstage into an oven, with temperatures frequently hitting 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside that heavy casing of real skin, Burt Lahr was literally baking. He sweated soap lunchtime, the costume would be soaked through to the lining.
A 16-year-old girl drugged and starved never wanted you to know. Judy Garland was only 16 when MGM
became legendary. Cast members later admitted that the suit smelled unbearable, a mix of oven. When we watch The Wizard of Oz today, we are mesmerized by the vibrant, popping colors. The Emerald City sparkles and the ruby slippers shine. But that beauty came at a scorching price. Filming in early Technicolor was a primitive and demanding process. The cameras required an insane amount of light to register the colors properly on the film strip. To achieve this, MGM rigged the sound stages with massive banks of carbon arc lights. These weren't just bright, they were incredibly hot, essentially turning the enclosed studio into a giant toaster. Temperatures on the set regularly exceeded 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, imagine standing in that heat while wearing heavy wool felt, a metal suit, or 90 pounds of raw animal skin. It was a physical endurance test. Actors were constantly on the verge of heat stroke. Crews had to rush in between takes just to wipe the sweat off the actors' faces before it ruined their makeup. Torturous. Her green makeup was toxic, so she couldn't risk it melting into her mouth or eye. On days when the heat was unbearable, she had to be fed water through a long straw. Carefully in Oz.
And they were willing to break
closely at some scenes,
and already
the
addicted
shiny
to
look
pills
on the actors'
prescribed by
faces
studio
isn't
doctors.
just movie magic. It's pure exhaustion. Fact number 7. Toto was paid more than the Munchkins. In Hollywood, your salary is usually a reflection of your star power. But on the set of The Wizard of Oz, the payroll revealed a shocking and somewhat insulting reality about the studio's priorities. We all know Toto, Dorothy's loyal companion. In real life, Toto was a female Cairn Terrier named Terry. She was a seasoned Hollywood professional who had already appeared in several films. Because she was considered a highly trained asset, her owner and trainer, Carl Spitz, negotiated a weekly salary of $125. In 1939, that was a significant amount of money. more than many average Americans earned in a month. Now, compare that to the Munchkins. To populate the magical Munchkin land, MGM hired a troupe of 124 little people, mostly from a performance group known as... Their hiring agent reportedly took a 50% commission fee right off the top. That means many of the human actors were walking away with just $25
a film that
a
would
week,
enchant millions for generations. A 16-year-old girl drugged and starved. They would
Terry
never
the dog
want you to know.
Top-tier steak
Judy Garland
and
was only
in a
16 when
kennel.
MGM cast her as
The human
Dorothy.
actors were crammed into shared hotel rooms and paid less than the studio janitors. It remains one of the most glaring examples of inequality in film history, proving that in the eyes of MGM executives, a well-trained dog was literally worth more than a human being. Fact number 8. The hanging man myth. This is arguably the most famous and most chilling urban legend in cinema history. For decades, eagle-eyed fans have paused their VHS tapes and DVDs at this specific moment, pointing to a dark, swinging silhouette in the background of the haunted forest scene. The legend goes like this. A distraught Munchkin actor, or perhaps a stagehand, fell into a deep depression and hanged himself from one of the prop trees during filming. The rumor claims that the crew was so busy, or so careless, that they didn't notice the body until the cameras were already rolling, and it accidentally made it into the final cut of the movie. It's a terrifying story that adds to the cursed reputation of the film. But the truth is much less gruesome, though still a bit weird. MGM wanted the forest set to feel alive and magical. To achieve this, they rented hundreds of exotic birds from the Los Angeles Zoo and allowed them to roam freely around the soundstage. You can see peacocks and smaller birds throughout the scene. The mysterious hanging man is actually a large exotic bird, likely a crane or an emu, that wandered into the back of the shot. At the exact moment the actors pass by, the bird spreads its large wings and turns away. Because early home releases of the movie on VHS were low quality and grainy, that dark, blurry bird looked exactly like a human figure swaying on a rope. However, with the release of the high-definition Blu-ray and 4K versions, the mystery was finally solved. You can clearly see the bird's beak and feathers moving. No one died in that scene. It was just a confused emu trying to find its way out of Oz.
About her